Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Motorsport podcast. Very happy to have Mr. Levi Laevalle back on our show, and it's gonna be nice to catch up with you and see what you've been doing since the last time we spoke. So tell me, what have you been up to?
Oh man, I've been busy. It's been a pretty busy month with X Games, and we followed X Games up with Super Bowl jump that we did downtown Minneapolis, which was crazy cool. So we've been really busy getting everything set for that, but overall it's been an amazing month.
Yeah, I actually saw, I try to follow you as much as I can, but I saw you talked about that, and how did you get that how did that come about?
It was kind of funny. So with the Super Bowl in Minneapolis this year, the Super Bowl committee, they saw my urban snowmobile video I did a couple of years ago in St. Paul, and they said, how do we get that guy? We want that guy to come do something. So Polaris relayed the message to me and said, hey, what can you do for Super Bowl? So I came up with all these different ideas and concepts, and it went from like an urban snowmobiling thing like I did a couple of years ago to a one-off project where it was just going to be a big backflip. And we went down, surveyed or checked out, did a site walk, made sure everything would fit in there, and then I told them, I said I could do a big backflip in this space that we have. So that's kind of how it all started.
All right, well, that's cool though. All right, so before we get into more of the about you, did the right team win?
Well, for me, they didn't win because the Minnesota Vikings didn't make it into the Super Bowl. So we were close this year. The Eagles beat us out. They beat us out, and ended up going on to win the Super Bowl. So I guess, like, if you look at it that way, we got beat by the best. So that makes me feel a little bit better. But overall, I mean, we were able to go to the game. We got tickets to the Super Bowl, and we're able to watch it. And I mean, it was an incredible game. So it was neat to witness that firsthand.
Yeah, well, I can imagine that, and especially from here from Sweden, watching some Super Bowl. I'm very late, but it was a great show. All right, so let's talk sled, shall we? One of your big passions.
Yeah.
Well, you have, of course, got an updated IQ, isn't it? An updated IQ with the Axis front end on it.
So what they have now is it's just as a 600R is what it's called, and it has the new Axis body panels and some updates. This year they changed the spindles. They made them a little bit taller. Did a few different things to update the an already great machine that we had last year. So it's been working awesome. And for me, it's like the sled is bulletproof. They're so tough. Like, I think of all the manufacturers, I think the Polaris race sled is the toughest sled out there. And you can see that with a lot of the freestyle and snowcross riders. They're just bulletproof sleds. So for all the jumps, all the projects, all the things that I'm doing, it is like the perfect machine for it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember, the old chassis that came out in 2005, if I'm not right. About 2005, yeah. But you know what I'm talking about, the old one. And I had actually a friend that had that sled, and it's just he plowed it into a tree. I don't know how. Don't ask me why. and it's just so he just took it out of the tree and just drove it away. It's tough as bones. I don't know what it is. It's just rigid. So I understand that helps you, when you're trying to do stuff where you don't have to sort of sit there and fix things after doing this or doing that. So it has to be nice, I guess.
That's the best part for us, is like just knowing that it's all on me, because I know the sled is gonna work. I know the sled's gonna hold up to whatever I put it through, and then it just is all on me then. And the more we get it to that point where it's like the sled's right, the setup is right, and it's just me going out and doing my job. It's almost easier, because then you're not worried about all these other elements. So we're fortunate in that regard to have a nice sled like that, like the 600R.
Yeah, I can absolutely understand that as well. And Now looking to sort of, there's so many things that you do, man. I've said it before the last time we spoke. When you look at Levi Laevalle, I'm like, wow, man, how do you even have time for all the things you do, man? I understand you did that video, I think it was a few years back with the
Yep.
ice cream. I understand you need to cool down sometimes. I love that, man. I will never forget. That was epic. I love that. It was so cool. Uh, more
Yeah,
of
we
that.
find it. We have a lot of fun. That's been, that's something that I always gotta not remind myself, but you gotta remember, to enjoy life. And we've been able to, I get to ride my snowmobile all the time, and my life revolves around one of my passions, which is awesome. So like, I just always have to tell myself, you know what, no matter what is going wrong or what the scenario is, I get to ride snowmobiles for a living. I get to smear ice cream on my face for a living. I get to do all these fun things, and you can't complain about that one bit.
No, I fully, but I understand. But isn't that a waste of ice cream? Come on, dude. And you're a grown man.
Well,
You should
if
know
you
better,
do it,
dude.
if you do it on your forehead, it kind of drips down and it gets
Mm,
into your mouth eventually.
This is what's so great about you. You actually give great life advice right there. How to sort of do something very different. Now even being politically correct. That's different. And still sort of don't waste it all.
Yeah, right.
All right, that's great. So let's. I think I never asked you this. Maybe you shouldn't do all of the story, but I'm a little bit interested. How did the relation with Red Bull? How did it start? How did they catch an eye for you? Because obviously you have a lot of talent and a great personality. But how did they sort of look and say, this guy we should support?
You know what's funny about Red Bull? So they've been like, between Polaris and Red Bull, they've been my two longest sponsors, literally from my start of my pro career. And I wasn't even pro the first year they signed on. I was semi-pro. And what they did was, Red Bull. It was 2002, and Red Bull was looking for a snowcross athlete, which is a racing athlete. And they asked around, asked a few of the people, and at the time ESPN was covering our races, and they asked a couple folks from there, and one of the guys said, "Hey, there's this up and coming semi-pro rider. You should check him out. He's like out there, he's winning races, and he's throwing tricks, and he's doing stuff for the crowd, and the crowd loves him." So they come out to one of the races. Unfortunately, I won. I won the race that they came to, but we went out to eat, and they got to know me, and they said, "Hey, we could have whatever athlete we wanted, whatever top pro, but we want an up and coming guy, and you just suit our style. You're the type of rider that we like." So they signed me on in 2002, summer of 2002, and I was actually a semi-pro at the time. And then after the first race, a couple riders in the pro class got hurt, so they bumped me up to pro class to fill their spot, and that was the start of my pro career. So it was really random how my pro career started, but it was really neat, because then we went on from there to, like, I was one of 3 riders that year to make all the finals at the races, and I ended up 5th at X Games. And then the next year we won a gold in hill cross and got my first podium in snowcross. So it was neat that Red Bull had faith in me early on, and obviously through all the ups and downs with the injuries and all the things that have happened, Red Bull's always been there. And I just extended my deal with them just recently, so it's like they're like family to me. So
Yeah,
it's
but that's
been
so.
an amazing ride with Red Bull.
Yeah, but that's so nice to hear, because I've talked to other Red Bull athletes. Matthias Ekström, which is Swedish. He's a DTM driver,
Yep.
and you have all of these super talented people. Or even from other sponsors. But when you sort of look at Red Bull specifically, it feels like they're a very linked family, even when people in different categories of, maybe if it is car racing or if it is snowboarding or something like that. It feels like the family is very united in some way. And I guess that also has to be nice to be a part of.
It is. I mean, what's really neat about Red Bull is they'll get, they just did it this fall in October. They got all of the athletes together down in Texas, and we all just hung out for a couple days. just being around. And the thing that's neat about it is it was, you know, what the value is to Red Bull, who knows? But what it does is it gets all the athletes together, gets us chatting, gets us, you know, kind of together as a family. And then it's incredible to hear the different ideas that come from that. You start talking to Robbie Madison about stuff, and he's like, he's ready to jump to the moon. And then that inspires me, like, oh, hey, we could do something like this. So it's really neat in that regards. But I mean, Red Bull alone has been one of the biggest influences in my career. Just, you know, the thing that's neat is if you have a dream, if you have some project that you really would love to do, Red Bull is the one that helps make that possible. You know, the world record distance jump. I said I would love to try a world record distance jump. And about less than a year went by, and they called me and say, hey, you still want to do distance jump? I said, absolutely. And they said, how about for the Red Bull New Year No Limits? And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. That's the biggest stage you could put me on. So between urban snowmobiling, you know, riding around the city of St. Paul, I just brought the idea up, and before long, there we are. We're jumping off buildings and bridges in St. Paul, the capital of Minnesota. So I mean, they've been instrumental in my whole career. You know, between projects, between linking me to great people, and you know, I can't thank them enough.
Yeah. Also, I loved how you surprised that police also in the cop cars. Like, I like that. That was pretty good. I like that. That's cool. So
Tony was awesome. He was super cool guy. We had a lot of fun with him, and the funny thing is, like, obviously you usually don't ride your snowmobile in that manner and then get a thumbs up from the cop at the end of it. so it was
you need to
fun,
take the chance when you get it. I can guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, well, that's cool, man. It sounds good, man. You're in a good place. Let's leave it there for sure. Let's stay there. But also, though, you're also running a team still, as I can imagine, right? And you know, how's that going, and how do you manage that? We sort of touched on it before, but I sort of haven't really gotten to get a little bit more detail on how it is to sort of represent you as a brand, and then be sort of the sort of stunt rider, and then sort of have the more business role as you have on the side. And you know, and being a father, do you find it hard to manage, or do you have great people around you that help you with certain things, or how do you manage that and get it rolling, and also progress the riders that are riding for you?
So it has been. It's been a really, really fun. What do I say? Fun program to be able to have, you know, the race team, and to be able to obviously be a father, and to be competing at myself. And it does get hectic, no doubt, trying to balance all of it. But, you know, you mentioned, do you have great people? And that's exactly it. You know, we've got a great group of people around us, and that's what allows us to be able to do that. And, you know, for me, the team, it's really neat to be able to give riders a place to progress, you know, and thinking back on my career and coming up through the racing, I always think about, like, the different elements that really help me be successful. And, you know, for those riders, it's like, if you can give them that kind of situation so that they can, you know, if they want it, they can grab a hold and really, really run with it. And one thing I've found is, like, you know, we've been doing it since 2009 is when we started the race team. And one of the things that I've kind of realized is you can't want it more than the rider, you know, because I wanted them to succeed like no other. So I was like, you know, I was giving them all the different ideas, these different things that helped me, and I was like, hey, I think you should try this, do this, and I think it overwhelms them. So what you have to do is you have to just simply suggest and offer, and then if they want it, they're going to do the work. But if they're not into it, you can't force someone to be passionate about the pursuing a task. You know, and that's what I found. It's like they have to find that themselves. So I actually took a little bit of a step back this year, and said, hey, it's time for you guys to spread your wings and, you know, really go for it. And it'll help you learn how to do it. Because when I came up, there wasn't anyone that was there to help. I just was really observant, and I would look at my teammate, TJ Gula, who was a multi-time champion, and I just watch what he do. And I'd see, okay, this is how he's training, this is how he's riding, this is what he's doing. And then I would go, okay, try that, and then how can I improve on that? And that's how I ended up having success in racing. And that's kind of like where I'm at with the riders now, is like, okay, I've given you guys all the tools. Now it's time for you guys to take that and make it what you want.
Yeah, that sounds very good, because, you know, when it comes to these, you know, youngsters coming up, as we spoke about, you know, it's very good to sort of know that, you know, there is sort of advice to be offered, you know, that they can get the help that they sort of seek. But also the thing you say, where it's important to sort of know that this is the information you get for somebody that has the sort of the knowledge and the know-how, but also how to adjust it to your personality and your style, and sort of figure your own way, or how to progress that through seasons coming. So that's very interesting, because, you know, we look here at all the talent we have here in Sweden, of course, because snowmobiling is huge here as well. And, you know, it's good for someone like you to sort of teach the youngsters that look up to you, because there's a lot of people in this country that do that. So having that sort of advice, I think they can help them to think maybe a little bit broader than they would have if they wouldn't have listened to you, maybe. Because it's always good to listen to different people and their opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say, you know, the one line that always sticks out to me, it was by Bill Nye. He said every single person you meet knows something that you don't. So with that said, everyone you meet will know something you don't, so which means you could learn something from everyone you meet. So if you keep an open mind about the people you meet, and you know, if you really want to, you dig into it and see if you can learn from it. And with like these riders, it's like they can learn something from, you know, from myself, from most anyone. And it may not, you may learn how to do it right. You may learn how to do it wrong. You know, I've done that a lot, where it's like, you know, I've learned from people that do it wrong just as much as I learn from others that do it right. You say, okay, that's how I don't want to do it. You know, don't do it like he did. And, you know, that's the thing, is if you can identify those things where you can learn, that's where, you know, ultimately it's going to help you out the most.
Yeah, that's awesome. So don't you think you have the wrong job? I think you should sort of work somewhere to sort of motivate people in general. This sounds very good.
Yeah? We're working in that direction for the future. But right now I'm having fun riding, and you know, it's just, I've been very, very blessed to have you know, very good influences throughout my career, and very great people. And it's been really neat to see just the progression in me as a person, from the early years to now. Obviously, as I get older, you become, I don't want to say smarter by any means, but you acquire more knowledge, and you know, and that's one thing, is like one thing that I kind of kickstarted about 2-3 years ago was, you know, I all of a sudden got in this kick of learning. I met a person on an airplane, and she suggested a couple books. I started looking into those, and it just opened my mind up, and I think it's like the constant drive to learn more, to become better, is where I'm at right now in this stage of my life. And I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's helping me become a better person. By no means am I where I want to be yet, but it's definitely good to be moving in the right direction, at least.
I agree, and I usually say this to people that ask me things that, you know, they say sort of, I wish I knew everything, and I said, I don't. And they say, why do you say that? And I say, because if I knew everything, I couldn't learn new things, because I already knew everything. And if you always have the goal to sort of progress yourself as a human, as a father, as a role model, as a race car driver, as a whatever it might be, if you feel that you know everything, you also miss important sort of details that can sort of make you into a greater person, a greater father, or a greater rider, or whatever. So I think that is a very important thing to not forget, sort of to remind yourself of that. Keep learning is something that you should strive
Absolutely.
for.
Absolutely, and I think that's that's one of the things. Like a lot of times, people will people will forget. They just go, "Hey, we went to school, we did all the learn. Maybe we went to college, and then that's the end of your learning." And in reality, that's just the start. Now you get to go out and learn firsthand, like right in front of you. And if you continue to grow as a person, I think a lot of people just become they just become stagnant and they just stay in one place. And it's like, man, I just look at you have this whole life to continue to grow as a person, and hopefully with that you can influence people down the road.
Yeah, that has to be the goal. So that sounds cool, man. So do you feel pretty calm at the moment, though? A little bit sort of on the edge, always have to do something, or is it relatively under control?
Yeah, for me, obviously we just did the Super Bowl backflip, which was really, really nerve-wracking. It was really scary, a lot of different emotions. And, the flip itself, I've done a lot of backflips. I've done a lot of big flips. But with the scaffolding in the city, the limited space, all this stuff, this massive crowd, live show, it just put in a lot of additional pressure on myself, and I was nervous about it, but it all went well. But the reason I did it was because it was just something that I'm like, that is so cool. That's such an amazing project to be a part of, and that's where I'm at right now. Is I like, between urban snowmobiling, between the backflip at the Super Bowl, between all these different projects, it's like the stuff that I enjoy is when I get to be creative, and I get to try to think of something new. I get to try to do something that's different, and that energizes me so much, and that's what like drives me. The normal, the X Games and stuff, I always have fun at X Games, but it's kind of the same program, learn my tricks, do my run, that type thing. And so when I get the opportunity to do these other projects, it really like gets me energized, and it gets me where I'm like having to think it through, and not only just thinking how do I do this, but how do I practice this? How do I practice in a safe manner? How do I turn this into, like, how do I test this so that, like, for instance, with this backflip, how do I test it so that when I get there, I have everything exactly dialed in, so that I just go out there and do it, and it's no big deal. Yeah. I mean, not no big deal, but it's like I'm as prepared as I can be, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole process is what I really enjoy, trying to figure it out, do it, and do it safely live. So that's what's neat about this point in my life now is like I raced for 10 years or more than that professionally, and I mean it's a grind. You're practicing, you're preparing, you're doing all this stuff, and now it's like I have the opportunity to do these projects, to run around St. Paul and jump off buildings, things that I always dreamt of, and be able to be a part of the Super Bowl and do a backflip, and millions of people see it, and all these different things. And I just look at it and I go, gosh, it's incredible to be at this point, and it's energizes me to just keep thinking, like, what else can we do? What's next? And I'm excited about where we're at.
Yeah, that's for sure. That sounds awesome, though. And you have so many talents that you can sort of progress. You can start your own ice cream company. You can sort of, you have so many things, which, so there's so many things that you can have the flipping, you have the race team. So you have so many sort of open things that you also can do besides of the thing you always do. So don't worry, man. Everything's gonna work out fine for you. That's for sure. So that's really good. But that's awesome, though. And I guess being afar is working out well, and everything's going well there.
It's incredible. We've got two little ones. A little girl, Liv, who's a little over 3, and we got a little boy named Lavin, who is he's about 1.5, and they are just a hoot. We have so much fun with them. I'm actually, in the last month leading up to X Games and the Super Bowl jump, I've been really, really busy, so I haven't been able to, I see them each day, but I haven't been able to hang out with them a lot. So this afternoon, I'm going to take them out on the lake, and we're going to go ride their 120. their little snowmobile. So
That's
I look
awesome.
forward to that.
All right, but it's something that I would like to ask. Just something about the, over there. How many sort of months can you ride? Can you almost ride all year long, or like with Durant, or?
Like we can ride so snow season, usually it's like December through March is when we get to ride. Like where I'm from, the guys in the mountains obviously have a little bit more extended time. They can go. I mean, guys tell me that they're riding in June, which is crazy to me. But during, we can jump in freestyle and stuff. You can jump wood chips, or like I have a lot of AstroTurf, so I could probably AstroTurf my whole setup and run like a radiator setup. But for the most part, come May, I usually switch over to my dirt bike and ride that a little bit, and keeps me going for the off season. And then once you get to September, you start itching to get back on the snow.
Yeah, you haven't fallen into the snow bike attraction yet.
Not yet, man. It looks like a blast. I have yet to even ride one, which is crazy. So that's one of my goals, is to get on a snow bike this in the next 2 months, so I can get out. I gotta try it. I mean, they look like they're a ton of fun, and people say they're incredible to ride in the mountains.
Yeah, I actually did it. We have a Swedish brand here called the Brutal Technique. So they are sort of, it's basically into English is brutal tech.
Okay.
And man, was it different. I mean, I've ridden snowmobiles mostly, and man, that was different. But it was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And also these sort of the small things that you don't think of. When you go sort of have to do a short trip on an actual road, to the actual sort of snow, instead of the transition bit. Actually handles very well there. So it's a very interesting vehicle, that's for sure. But I have to say now, to everybody's watching this, don't try to flip it now. just sort of ease it in easily now. And then
I'm gonna keep it right side up for sure.
I know how you work. You're a little bit, you want to test the edge. No, that's fine. That's fine. But are you sort of looking forward now? Would it be possible for you to get to Sweden in any, if we have the Clash of Nations or anything? It would be very nice to have you here and do your shows here with many, of course, fellow Redbull athlete Daniel Bodine or something like that.
Yeah, Daniel. He's I have a lot of respect for Daniel. He was in 2011. He came over and filled my spot on the team for X Games, and he came and trained at my compound and practiced with us and whatnot, and went on to win 2 gold medals that year, and then he came back the next year, and he was going to try doing front flip. Unfortunately, he got banged up in my foam pit. I got banged up too. I was trying to do double flip. I broke my leg. He was doing front flip, broke his neck, and I mean, so we got banged up pretty bad. But I have a ton of respect for Daniel. Just the manner that he goes about things. He works hard, and it shows. He always comes prepared, ready to go at X Games, and I was so excited for him when he stuck that double backflip. It was something that I started a long time ago in 2009. We tried it at X Games, and it just kind of lingered for a long time, and I tried it again in 2012, broke my leg into the foam pit, and that's when I called it quits. I said, that trick is, I'm done with it, I'm moving on. And to see Daniel go about it and land it was really neat. But I think the thing that I was maybe even more excited about was the process of how he figured it out. He had this big airbag on a scaffolding right on the existing landing, and he just kept flipping it. Once it felt right, they took the scaffolding down, and he took it right. I mean, exact same place, exact same setup. So, like, the thought process that he had to say, this is how we're going to make this happen, that's the part that I thought was really cool. Because I'm like, man, that was genius how they figured out how to do it. And to see him land that was like, it was almost like a relief for me. I'm like, man, I'm like glad somebody did. So, hats off to Daniel for doing that.
Yeah. All right, but lastly, though, I have to ask you: this is relatively a very new year. In relatively a number of months has passed, and looking forward for this year. What do you know is coming up for you this year?
For me, the exciting part now is like getting through X Games, getting through Super Bowl. That was like my heavy load. So I'm glad we made it through that. Now, like what my plan is I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go out and start doing some riding. I'm gonna just go out ride, and I'm gonna start creating, doing some content creation. I've got some really fun ideas. So we're gonna try to start doing do some filming, some photo stuff, and start pushing stuff out on the internet for people to see. I really enjoy thinking of these different ideas and these different things that we can do, and that's kind of the direction we have for the rest of the year. So it'll be a lot of work, a lot of some stuff a little bit scary, but at the same time, I'm like, I couldn't be more happy to go out and tackle it. So we've got a couple of months of that ahead of us, and then the summer comes, and then I'll definitely be out in I just ordered my new boat for this summer, so I'm pretty excited to get on the water this summer.
Man, you're gonna blast away. Also, I almost forgot. How's your Swedish coming, my friend?
What's that?
How's your Swedish coming?
I'm not doing very well at it right now, but
All right.
but I sure would. You know what? One thing I would like to do is I'd like to come over and go out riding. There's a ton of good riding out there, or it looks like from some of the riders over there. So I would love to. I'd love to make my way over there. I just need to find a tour guide is all, so I don't get lost.
Yeah, no, well, that's pretty smart. There's a lot of them, though. Man, it's nice to talk to you again, my dear friend. I have to say, can you do the Swedish people a favor? Can you say "Hey Sverige"?
Hey, Swedia. Swedia?
Yes.
Hey,
That means hello,
Sverige.
Sweden. It's very easy.
Hey, Swedia.
Look at that, man. I said it, man. Man,
Try it.
Crazy.
I'm not very good at my own language of English, so you can throw me a bone.
All right,
here.
so there we go. We have sort of established ice cream maker, flipper, race team owner, father, and you sort of international language coach. That's good. Man, I give you this, man. You're good. All right, well,
Oh,
thank
man.
you. Well, Levi, thank you for your time. Your precious time means a lot to the Swedish people and myself. You give great guidance. You're a great role model. I wish you all the best being a father, being a race team owner. Stay safe and have a lot of fun on the lake and in the snow. And I see you hopefully very, very soon. Thank you.
So, sounds good. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, man. Take care.